how do influencers actually get hundreds of thousands and millions of followers on social media, and do they actually make any money? Were they born famous? Did they find some algorithm hacks, made over 100,000 pieces of content, started posting the day out of the womb, or do they just sell a scam course or some useless products? In this video, we're gonna literally pull back the entire curtain on how my guest, Adolfo, good friend, we've been apparently traveling the world with at this point, and 1.3 million followers on YouTube, 375,000 followers on Instagram, almost 2 million followers on TikTok, 670,000 followers on Facebook, and the hidden gem generating some serious numbers for his business, 680,000 followers on Snapchat. It's insane to think he actually grew all this in the space of 1 to 2 years by obsessing over the ins and outs of social media. I know what you're thinking is about to tell me to be consistent, be myself. Well, after living with him and absorbing his brain this past year, I can tell you his advice is actually very, very controversial. Not seen anyone talk about it online. We're going to go through this step by step on everything that you could possibly need to know about how to grow your next 100,000 followers and pull your engagement out the grave so you can level up your business without paid ads, BS gurus, courses, agencies claiming they've got some secret sauce for multi-platform explosive social media growth without ever actually doing it themselves. So I'm going to go through everything about algorithms going consistently viral, best times to post, what to post, when, how not to get shadow banned if you are actually shadow banned, and how he's using Snapchat to get over 100,000 story views plus every single time, thousands of replies into those. So I'm Dr. Az Zakaria. I've had relative success with multiple accounts, not near as well as him, and multiple social media growth with a few 100,000 across platforms in the fitness space. But I specialize in more business growth, with the client acquisition, lead gen, sales, team ads, mental performance, the boring stuff. So built a strong team of 20, beautifully functioning company during med school with just knowledge seeking and execution from people like Adolfo. So I want to share as much as I possibly can, and not selling you anything either. I have my own business, but we're just hanging out, felt unproductive, so thought we'd start filming a podcast. We met at our previous business mastermind, and now we're just going places in Portugal right now. Adolfo's just come from Brazil. I'm back to Bulgaria tomorrow, but we're going to be running through everything ABC, where this all started, but let's get into it. So Adolfo, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, bro.
All good. So first things first, fill us in. Where did this all start? Why did you want to grow on social media, number one? And how did you do it?
Okay, so ever since I was a kid, ever since the first time I literally got a phone, the first thing I did with my phone was film stuff with it. So I always had kind of this passion for filming, which made it natural for me to get into it. And when social media came around, I always got some interest into it, right? So that started it. When I was in college, I actually started a different business. I had a graphic design business while I was in college, and I was doing logo design. I was doing freelancing for this kind of graphic design gigs. And when you're proud of your work, you want to start sharing it online with people. So that's my first experience with, starting to use social media to actually generate leads back in my college years. So I saw good success with that. I remember back then even I was considering dropping out of college. I was having a conversation with my colleagues, and during the conversation, one of the things that came up was how much are you making? And I told them, and they were like, oh, you're making more than our actual teachers, so why continue? So that was the moment that I finished college, and I went full time into the whole online thing, and eventually, transitioning from freelancing to hiring people and having my own business. And this is how it started. Then eventually in 2020, I sold the graphic design business I had, and that's what I transitioned full time into a big passion of mine, which was fitness. And that's where I started creating fitness content and creating fitness content full time. And that's how it started. And I started really having great success back then with TikTok because it was a new platform. And that really kickstarted things for me and made me kind of obsessed with short form content because I saw so much potential on it back then in 2020. And then, after I developed this knowledge of the short form content really and did so much research about it back then in 2020, 2021, that was pretty much when I went from a couple of thousand followers to like, I'd say that year to 500,000 in 2021. So that's where it really started. And then when I started putting effort into the other platforms other than TikTok as well, that's where things really, went to the next level, specifically in 2022. That's where really the business, took off, and I started seeing great results from there.
It's insanely impressive. I think when you say things took off, I think the social media multi-platform growth is insane. But with the people that are listening, they may have low engagement, their reels are dying, they may have had some success, and there's also going to be another batch of people who are starting from absolute zero, let's say the first 10,000 followers, and trying to grow to the next level and get hundreds of thousands of followers like you did, right? But let's dive into what you feel right now, the biggest mistakes people are making on social media right now in terms of growth.
Yeah, so nowadays, imagine that social media looks at you a lot of time. It's not a human looking, it's a robot, right? And the robot is set, the AI is set to look at your account, and there's a specific set of patterns that a lot of times they're very subtle and you might not even be aware of them. But if you perform any of these red flags, your account is going to get like negative points, right? And if you perform green flags, your account is going to get green positive points in this case, right? And a lot of people are not aware of the behaviors that are causing their account to be seen as not worthy of going viral on the eyes of Instagram. And the main mistake that a lot of people do is focus just on the content. They look at Mr. Beast, they look at people like this saying, oh, you just gotta focus on content and this and that. And while it is true that content is super important and the quality of the content, if the account health is not good, it's gonna be very hard for your content to go viral, even if the content is exceptionally good, right? So I'd say that not focusing on your actual account health is costing people's businesses thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because they're not aware of how important it is to have a good account health, and they don't even know what they don't know about it, right? They don't even know like what are the actual things that are affecting their account health. And this unfortunately is you already. When I taught you this, you noticed the difference on your business.
It's crazy.
And a lot of other people I taught this behavior to. Yeah, unfortunately, less than 0.001% of people is aware of this nowadays.
I am 100% aware of that, and it's not just myself. So I had reasonable success in terms of going viral with the content side of things without stuff being optimized, and then you realize that when you're traveling, when you have multiple team members, there's different things that come into play with VPNs, GPS boosts, and all of this fun stuff around account health, right? Yeah. But right now, what do you feel that tomorrow people can do so they can actually get into a better position for their account to be pushing their content out more, would you say?
Okay, so the biggest thing would be something that has been done for centuries, and it's modeling success. So any painter, any sculptor, any great artist in history, nowadays, the artists are people creating these art forms, which are short form content. It's an art form, if you look at it that way. If you look at it centuries ago, the artists were modeling what other artists were doing. Picasso, Da Vinci, they all had people that they modeled for their first 5 years, a decade of working, right? So whatever you're doing, don't assume that you're a genius. Actual model success, right? So if you go on, and don't model success from people that already are successful, and don't look at their content nowadays, for example. If you're trying to model Mr. Beast, don't look at his current videos. Look at the videos that made him go from unknown to famous in the first place. Not the videos that he's posting while he's famous, right? If you look at people, if you're more into the business side of things, if you look at, let's say, Alex Hormozy, for example, don't look at his current videos. Actually, even a better example, if you look at Iman Gadzhi, don't look at his current videos, look at his videos from when he started, 2018, 2017, and see what he was actually doing, right? Or if we speak in the fitness niche, don't look at someone that posts fitness content now and is going viral. Look at their videos from a couple of years ago when they start. For example, me, don't look at my videos now, look at my videos from 2021 when I had my first video hit 1 million views, when I had my first 100,000, 200,000 followers, look at my videos from then and see, okay, how did it went from nothing to what were the behaviors that it did. And you might notice subtle things that when these subtle things add up, they act, individually the subtle things might not make you go viral, but when you add all of these subtle things on top of each other, they make the difference between going viral or not.
100%. I think right now the people at the top of their game have broken free from the algorithm, let's say, right?
Yeah.
They have this insane organic reach, which is already going to be pushing their content out more and more because of the brand rather than the actual procedures, the SOPs, let's say, to actually scale. But for you right now...
Sorry for interrupting. I even have a theory that up until a certain point, like 99.9% of creators are all, let's say, your account is handled through AI, but when you reach the 0.1%, I think there is actually a human that handles the algorithm for your account, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it 100% makes sense, right? These social media platforms, they want to protect what content's going out on there, and the people with insane reach and insane brands, it makes sense for them to monitor those on a much higher level than the other 99.9%.
Yeah, and to reach the 0.1, I mean, it's not just with having a couple of videos with 1 million views. No, this is like, you're actually famous, like almost soccer player status. And that's where you break free of these rules of like other mortals, like me, like you. Like can break free all of these rules when you're like Alex Hormozi and Iman Gat. That's where you actually break free of these rules. But for everything else, us included, we still have the normal rules, the normal algorithm rules that we have to abide by.
100%. So for you right now, what do you feel the biggest thing that helped you actually grow on this very secret platform for your business, which I don't think most people will understand or know about and won't expect, more importantly, for generating leads and for scaling your business? You know, you had one of your best months with 80-90% of the leads being booked in to calls from this platform, Snapchat. So how did you start on Snapchat? How did you grow? How are you actually generating leads from this?
Okay, I have to say that the barrier of entry for Snap is what makes it so good, because it's so hard to start going viral on Snap. In the beginning, I remember I started and I posted like 9-15 videos and they were just getting like less than 100 views, and I'm like, yeah, like these videos went viral on all of the other platforms. On this platform, they're not going viral. And I just saw I was not getting returns from the time I was investing there, and I stopped posting. But I had a good friend of mine, Canadian friend of mine, Conan. He is a very persistent guy when it comes to social media as well. He's very similar to me in that regard. And back then, he told me, bro, like my Snap is growing. Like he was just posting literally for 4 months he was posting, and he was barely getting any good engagement then. But then after 4 or 5 months, something kicked in. He started actually getting these posts getting some organic reach. And I was living with him back then, and he incentivized me, bro, like, get back to posting on Snap. Trust me, it will be worth it. And because I saw his results, I got back to posting on Snap. And just to give people watching some context, because you might think Snap is just a platform where you share some Snap stories and stuff. Snap is not like that anymore. Okay, platforms are just copying each other nowadays. And just like that, because IG stole Snap stories and created IG stories, now Snap also stole Instagram Reels, and they created what's called Spotlights, which are exactly like TikToks or exactly like Instagram Reels, but they're called Spotlights. So they're Snapchat's version of IG Reels. And they go viral in the exact same way, and they attract new followers in the exact same way. But the only difference is that at this point in time, because not a lot of creators are aware of it, there is barely any competition, okay? And I'm gonna feel sorry for revealing this to people one day, but nowadays there's barely any competition, and there's a lot of people watching content, and there's not enough people producing content. Right?
Yeah, there's not even people selling on Snapchat because they don't even know, right?
Exactly.
And it's absolutely wild to see the actual engagement and reach. So one story of Adolfo showed me is getting 120, 130,000 story views on a story, which, you know, expires and everything like usual. and of course stays longer on Snap. But with just just 670,000 followers, that percentage of engagement on a story, which you can directly sell from technically with some sort of call to action with inbound DMs, which is a lead at that point as well, is absolutely wild. No, you can't do outbound into followers or whatever, but the engagement from the inbound from stories is insane, right? More than we've seen on what you've got from IG, YouTube, everything with millions of followers as well. And, people are under the assumption, people make the same assumptions every time, TikTok's only kids, Snapchat's only kids, sending pictures and stuff. And then you've missed yes, TikTok lead quality might be less, right? But then you miss every single other person because of the insanely high engagement that you can get. So you remember, you can qualify off of inbound from the actual call to action itself. So it doesn't matter as long as you have a good setting process as well. So what do you think actually helped you grow on that platform? Do you feel it was the same strategies as IG, TikTok, YouTube, and you were just spending minimal amount of time and resharing that kind of content, or was there anything else that you did differently?
Okay, so every platform, 80% of the principles apply amongst all of them, and then there's the 20% that are specifically unique for each of the platforms.
Yeah.
And if you don't nail this 20%, the other 80% are not gonna work. Okay. So yeah, there are 20% of nuances to Snap, but like if I had to make it simple for the people watching, so what I did was starting by reposting the most viral videos that I had on the other platforms on Snap. Okay, this is what everyone would do. Obviously, this is pretty logical. But what I did as well was creating a strategy to drive traffic from my other platforms to Snap in the first place, and this way kickstart the process faster of like growing on Snap. So, for example, if you have, let's say you're watching this and you have like 1,000 story views on your IG, and let's say you put up a story like, hey, if you want my free cookbook, message the word cookbook on Snap, and you put a link to your Snap, and people message you on Snap, right? And when they message you there, you say like, hey, like all you have to do is give me a follow and turn on the bell icon to receive the ebook. And they do that, right? And you start getting an audience and kickstarting the process faster. And of course, on the first videos on the platform, always be super engaging with everyone commenting, everyone that's engaging with your content. So this is pretty normal knowledge, not any news for anyone. But those would be like the basics for growing on the platform.
Interesting. And, we spoke about this personally a lot, and I know you've been testing this for so unbelievably long, but creating your first piece of content that actually goes viral is a lot more specific in terms of the actual details, the account health, everything that has to go on to actually make that happen, right? And what most people don't understand, that there is a big difference between, posting valuable content, being consistent for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then optimizing from the beginning for multiple platform viral growth and explosive growth, which is very doable, right? And so people get this idea because the influencers online, the big brands online with large voices say that you need to be consistent, post 10,000 times over 10 years before one post takes off, and then that's the snowball effect, right? But what they miss out is that they had the opportunity to optimize for explosive growth from the beginning. And this is something we've talked about, and it's very, very proven because you've done it multiple times, different accounts on the same platform, which is very impressive, which we can say is consistent strategy, right? So what do you feel right now is the best thing that people can do to initially gain that traction with optimizing for that content with the viral post as soon as possible?
Okay, so it all starts with the account creation. And for the account creation, you have to realize that if you have another account on a specific platform that for some reason started getting bad engagement, started getting signs that it was shadow banned or that it was not working fine, you're marked negatively with that platform. So if you created that platform with a specific email, with a specific phone number, with a specific phone, with a specific IP, even if you create a new account, the social media platform is going to associate it with that other bad account. It's like a good apple put next to a rotten apple, okay? So for that reason, right, I would suggest you to start with a clean slate, right? If you're having a platform with bad engagement, create a new account, right? And when you're creating a new account, use completely new email, completely new phone number, ideally a different phone, right? And start with a clean slate, okay? Now, this would be the very first step, right? Now, if it's someone that's living in, I assume people watching this post in English, most of the people watching, if you're living in an English-speaking country, all good. If you're living in the US, in the UK, so on and so forth. But a lot of people watching this are also traveling, right? And they're living in a non-English speaking country, like in Emirates or in Indonesia, in Bali, stuff like that. If you're posting content in English in a country that doesn't have English as a native language, your content is doomed to not go viral, unfortunately. So you're going to have to do a set of things that are going to place your account in the eyes of those social media platforms in a country that speaks English. Okay, that's going to be the first place. So the account creation and the account setup, I mean, I could go on this for hours, but I'm trying to make this short, is a very important step, okay? Now, second step is the actual content creation. And for that, like I mentioned already, model success, okay? So go on people that are in your niche, right? And if you're, for example, dating coach, okay, go on TikTok and search for dating coach, right? And try to come up with a list of 10, 20 people and try to go to the videos that actually made them starting to blow up. Okay, that is going to be very important for you to model that. And make a list of 50, 60, 100 videos, right? See the common things in between those videos and try to model those videos in your own way, in your own words, but try to model those videos and take the good parts, all of them, so that you can model the success and start going viral as well. And eventually you're going to come up with your own style.
100% think that's the best thing that you can do. And of course, you can go on about this for hours and hours because we've been going on about this for maybe a year now, for hours a day as well. Yeah. So there's a lot to optimize. It doesn't have to be difficult, but it is definitely more about correct execution, I think, because people try and do the same thing. They think they're making great content. They think, it might be brilliant quality, perfect camera, perfect education, value is insane, but then they just basically missing out on everything that they know they should be doing that other people who are going viral are doing. So, there's pauses, there's stutters, there's this and there's even the timing, frame it, everything is pretty far off where it should be. There's no proper CT. It's nothing that should be implemented for account growth, right? Yeah. Even one of those tiny things can blow up someone's video, but I'm unaware of nearly every single one of them, which is a bit of a problem. But the main thing I think to take away as well is that using other people's content as like an ABC kind of structure as to what's going viral now is a really good idea. But then looking at how the ones that are going more viral recently are actually performing and how that was structured, I think is more important because, what worked 2-3 years ago isn't necessarily what's going to work now. And especially with people like trying to do photos, carousels, this and this for explosive growth, because that's what worked 5 years ago with Instagram and as much value in some slides as possible. Unfortunately, there's better ways can work, but of course there's better ways to optimize now. But the next thing is, you're absolutely smashing it with the growth, but with people who are looking to start or have a business right now, looking to really optimize, monetize, what do you think the biggest mistakes that, we've been talking heavily about as well that people are doing with lead generation, sales, and, people maybe using that social media right now to grow their business or to actually improve their business? Where do you think the mistakes, where do you think the improvements can be in what people are currently doing with social media?
So they are not posting in a way that's aimed towards their ideal audience, right? So a lot of people have an Instagram account and they're posting for their friends, they're posting for people they're dating or they're trying to date and this and that. And in the middle, they're also posting some content for the specific thing that they're trying to do for their business, right? That is a big mistake. Okay. Ideally, if you want to post for your friends, for people that you're trying to date, this and that, have a separate IG, a personal IG, right? And use your actual business IG for your business, okay? And post content that's aimed towards that, okay? I think as much as people tell you to show your personal side and this and that on social media, that is okay. You can do a bit of it, but not as much as I believe people push out there.
Yeah,
okay?
I think people are very, very stuck in this mindset of this is linked to me. I am this person. I am this business. I am this social media page. I am this identity, but also trying to build a business off of it. And there's this like weird mix up where now they have the fear of posting stuff that they need to post to actually grow their account. And they also have the fear of selling on there properly and the right way. But that leads us to a nice little transition. So with stories, I know a lot of people have either been doing this incorrectly or can optimize heavily for specific sales posts as well. What do you think the best structure, mistakes people are doing, and little hacks would you say that story creators can do in terms of actually pushing for that? Because I know, I would say maybe 95% of your leads are not from the posts themselves. The posts are to build the audience, but the stories are where you're actually selling.
Yep.
So how does that actually work for you right now?
So with stories, the biggest mistake that I see a lot of people doing is posting way too many stories. I have no idea who was the guru that came up with this concept of post 5 stories a day and this and that. I don't know who came up with this, but people just started to regurgitate that idea of posting multiple stories a day, and it has never worked. Like, not now, and not 7 years ago, in 2018, 2017, posting multiple stories a day was always worse than posting one story a day. There was never a time that it was better.
Just for some very, very conceptual proof of that, Adolfo's stories on IG, like a story post will get like been up to 100,000 views plus, and it gets 3,000 replies off of that, and poll votes, which Cesars will outbound into as well. And the 3,000 replies from one post is significantly higher than, I guess, the 50 stories with maybe a few people reacting to it and replying to it across 10 days. And then there's the time cost, the efficiency. And then people realize, it's not working. Social media doesn't work. I need to run ads. Right, I need to run ads. And they haven't looked at every single other thing in the process, the actual scripts, the lead gen scripts, the optimization around all of that as well. But where did you actually figure this out? How did you figure this out, would you say?
I couldn't learn anywhere on the internet. I had to do trial and error myself years ago and see what worked better. So I had to be kind of like a crazy lab scientist trying out different things. And this was one of them. I tried posting multiple times a day. I tried posting once a day on my peak hours where my followers are most active. And the results were like double the views, double the people watching my stuff in comparison to where I was posting multiple times a day.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think a lot of people are hesitant on taking on this information and executing because, number one, they've been pushed their entire social media lives that there's fixed rules of this, right? And that's what you have to do to grow and be consistent. But number two, I think there's way too many people out there who are pushing social media growth, this, without actually doing it themselves, number one. And without any proven results across multiple accounts, right? Not just in the fitness niche, but we've seen this implemented in the B2B space, we've seen this implemented in brand space as well, and it's the same results every time. It's just that every single other person feels like, they know exactly what they're doing and they're refusing to take it on as well. But for most of the people watching as well, outside of social media, what do you think the best thing that people can do in terms of a personal calendar, let's say, to organize content and posting? Because, they're trying to run a business, they're trying to do DM, sales calls, coaching, everything else by themselves. And then content is just one of those things that goes up and down based on how much time they have. Mm-hmm. So for efficiency, how would people manage their calendar, and how do they organize creating, editing, posts before they've got a team and all of this alongside?
Mm-hmm. So I can tell you what I was doing during this phase that I was blowing up on social media while I was doing everything myself back then, no team. So back then, it was actually in Bali that this happened, or when I was living a few months in Bali. And I had a period where I was literally spending 60% to 70% of my day either filming content, researching content, or posting content. Okay, let's say 70% of my day was that. And just 30% was actual messaging prospects, having sales calls, and the actual coaching fulfillment. So 70% of my day was devoted to that. So I would back then spend the morning, 2 hours per morning, actually researching the content I would film and planning the content I would film. I would make a Trello board with like all the exact shorts I was feeling, the exact lines I was gonna say. Then I would do some like work for the business. After that, I would go to the gym at the middle of the day. Then when I would come back from the gym with you always look better on camera after a gym workout. And I would come back from the gym, and immediately after the gym, shower, meal, and that would be 2 hours of filming. Okay, 2 hours of filming. And then after that, editing. Okay, then more for other stuff of the business. Okay. And throughout the day, there was 3 points, which was waking up, middle of the day, and end of the afternoon, where I would post. Okay, because TikTok doesn't allow for scheduling posts. So I would have to go and manually post on TikTok back then. So yeah, pretty much morning in terms of content creation, morning planning, and afternoon filming and editing, pretty much.
Understood.
When it was myself doing it.
No, this is pretty much exactly what it takes at the beginning as well. And I think people just tell themselves they don't have time. They have time. Everyone has time. And then I feel, just an observation from myself, from people trying to grow. We've got a solid team now. We've got multiple setters. We've got coaching. Everything's outsourced on our business now. But the main thing is, I've noticed that nearly everyone that's doing the same thing without a team, regardless, they're putting all their effort into their highest leverage opportunities on stuff that doesn't matter, number one, on stuff they shouldn't be doing, like fulfillment, for example. Yeah. And number two, they're missing out on the growth for there because they're setting it aside like, this is just something that is on the to-do list because I have to do it, instead of this is something that I should be optimizing for because it could be the difference between exponential growth for my business and not. And then even when it comes down to when they eventually reach some growth as well, they tell themselves, I only have like 5,000 followers. I have no engagement, this, right? I only have this, but that's why I can't get any leads for my business. When I'm like outbound prospecting, as in messaging followers, poll votes, comments, story views, everything like this. And then number two, the scripts as well, they're going straight in with, hey, do you want to buy my coaching program? Hey, what are you working towards, the fitness stuff? Or hey, this, right? Instead of a real conversation where it's conversational at the start and then the processes in the middle for optimum show-up rate, conversion value being given, problem finding, the actual cost of inaction for them to do this, just like how a sales call would be structured. And the entire DM process, all the way to call booking, isn't optimized for growth. So it's essentially pushing leads into a bucket with a hole in it, and it's just they're burning leads essentially at that point, right? This we've seen like in multiple businesses. One, the main thing is, I feel now, it's the thought processes around what is actually necessary for growth, and especially in the high ticket space for content, but then how that conversion is optimized. Because I know the first thing that people think, because gurus say this is the only thing that they could do, is let's just pour a bunch of money into ads. And then this is like, nothing's working on the front end organically or in the conversion process or even sales process, then everything going into there is just falling straight through the holes in the bucket. And then on the back end as well with fulfillment, churn and burn model with what most people have, product shit as well. So they get people on leave, there's no retention strategies. But I personally think, from observation anyways, that there is a lot of areas that should be optimized, with content, social media as well, being one of the highest leverage plays people can make at the beginning outside of outbound prospecting and getting good at sales, right? That's like one of the biggest things, and people are spending way too much time on stuff that doesn't matter, what their logo looks like, their website, and they try to build a website. I didn't have a website for years as well, or a logo actually, or even the name of the thing. I spent 2 seconds on this, right? And it's all of these tiny optimizations for business growth, as well as what you're actually making the content for, right? Because there's very blurred lines for most people. But final question for you as well. If someone wanted to go from 0 to 100,000 followers for their business and they're starting from ground zero, what would be the first thing that they do after this video?
Well, if you want to go from 0 to 100,000 and you didn't mention any platform, the platform would be TikTok for you to do that. In that case, I would do the strategy I told you of a totally new, either get a new phone or reset your current phone, and new phone number, new email, new everything, create a TikTok account totally from scratch. Okay, that would be what I would do, right? Create everything totally from scratch. Research what I said. So research like dozens of creators on your niche and do a list of 50 to 100 viral videos they've made and film and replicate exactly what they did. Okay, so do it in your own words, do it in your own way, but model what they did and post one video per day on that TikTok account and start growing it. And this is gonna be for 9 videos, let's say. And if these 9 videos, none of them goes viral, just repeat the process. Create a new TikTok account until you get one TikTok account that goes viral. And when that TikTok account starts to go viral, then you can start putting in the TikTok bio platform that you want to promote. So let's say from TikTok you want to promote your long form YouTube content, you put that on the TikTok bio and you start redirecting people from your viral TikToks to that platform. And then it's just a snowball effect. And when that platform starts going viral, let's say YouTube, then you have a third platform that you want to promote, Instagram, and you start driving traffic from your TikTok and from your YouTube to the Instagram account, right? So it's a snowball effect until you're on all of these powerful platforms that we have now to generate leads. TikTok is not necessarily good to generate leads in my opinion, but it's good to kickstart the other ones, right? So the other ones, the powerful ones are YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Snap. Okay, Facebook and Snap being the 2 best ones in my opinion right now to make money because there's less competition than Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, 100%. That's like golden advice, which I think will fly over most people's head and they just won't do it.
Yeah.
But just so you know, we have very, very conceptual proof of this as well. I know Adolfo has done this, and this is outside of the accounts that blew up, and he's done it again and again. We won't mention which accounts just yet, but this is literally a repeatable process, and the incubation period on TikTok is anyone can go viral technically from day one. And that's where you actually find the post that you want to repost onto the other ones. And then if you don't want to go for like 7 phones between those stuff. So we have been testing this, we've done this, everything does work. And it's just a matter of like not being hesitant to take on this info. Because I remember when we first started speaking a year ago, the first thing was like, I cannot be bothered. Like this, I've already started on here. I can't be bothered to start again, right? And then you start doing it, and then you're like, holy shit, this works. And then I think until then, people are just going to be hesitant about that. But believe what you want. Not selling you anything right now or anything like that. But yeah, follow Adolfo wherever it is. Subscribe if you want. And if you want to see more content, actually, we'll be posting more short form. So find us somewhere. Links will be below, and Adolfo's accounts and everything else will be below as well. Thank you for watching. Comment what you want. Adolfo will reply. I'll make him. And subscribe, like. Thank you guys for watching.